Some places in this world feel almost impossible to get to. But the Arctic is an entirely different kind of wild. Home to polar bears and others that survive these extremes, it is a world carved by ice, ruled by silence, and hidden behind thousands of miles of unpredictable churning ocean. Few people ever venture this far north, across the relentless Greenland Sea. We forged beyond the final lines of the map.
Just look at that.
Pushing boundaries where nature decides the rules.
Big one coming! It's coming! Let's go! And everybody in!
We're getting closer and closer to the North Pole. This is crazy.
From the northernmost edges of Svalbard, under skies alive with the aurora and infinite stars, to the remote reaches of Greenland. A journey that reminds you just how big and untamed this planet really is.
Ready?
I'm still rolling.
Still doing it.
Okay, all right, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to our Arctic adventure. We boarded our expedition ship in Reykjavik, Iceland, to Jan Mayen, and ventured through Longyearbyen, the capital of Svalbard, and Ny-Ålesund, 11 degrees from the North Pole, and finally reached our ultimate destination, Ittoqqortoormiit, Greenland. After a brief introduction to the crew, a look at the journey ahead, and a rundown of safety procedures, everything started to feel real. And with that, we were on our way. Our room, one bed, a sleeper sofa, and a porthole window that people on the main deck were literally walking by. As the departure horn echoed, we raised a glass as Iceland faded into the fog, watching the ship plunge into the swell ahead. Our journey was finally underway.
Sort of, right?
Yes. We have been on board this ship for 5 days.
The ocean turned on us. Clouds formed.
This is the current weather conditions right now.
Fog closed in. The swell grew restless until we could see nothing.
We were supposed to make a stop that never happened because of the weather.
Welcome to Svalbard in September, and this is what it looks like. We were supposed to land and go on shore at our first port, but the weather has moved in so fast that we have to leave. We got in about an hour ago, and now we're getting ready to sail out because it's just too dangerous to be outside. And the scouting team went out, and the weather is just not cooperating, so no luck. Out of luck. Hopefully at the next stop tomorrow, we'll be able to get off.
As we sailed away, it sank in. We had no idea when we'd be setting foot on land. Out here, we were at the mercy of the weather.
And the captain was cool enough to give us a bridge tour today.
And they have everything from anchoring to mooring to...
Get to learn all about the ship, the MS mod on Ittoqqortoormiit. Really cool.
The captain showed us how the ship breaks through dense Arctic ice and heavy, relentless winds, with cutting-edge navigation systems, and also why we were holding near Jan Mayen, because once we turned for our long journey to Svalbard, there was no coming back. So what do you do when you're stuck on an expedition ship? You drink, meet fellow passengers, listen to onboard lectures, watch a quirky Norwegian performance, where a Viking recruits volunteers to pour spoonfuls of ice water down their backs. Enjoy long, unhurried meals.
We are getting aloo gobi.
Watch outlandish Norwegian sketches on television that kept us laughing and oddly entertained. And drink some more.
It has become a little tolerable because of our best friends.
I don't drink.
Lies, all lies. There's been a lot of this.
Yeah, 5 days of drinking, that's about it.
Again, we arrived in Jan Mayen, and the day finally looked promising. From the top deck, we watched the scouting team head out in zodiacs, setting things in motion for our landing. Finally, there was hope of getting ashore.
About 400 visitors make it here per year. About 18 researchers stay on this island. Can't wait to explore it.
Within minutes, the weather shifted, and the scouting team struggled to relaunch the Zodiac against the rising swells.
Big one coming. It's coming. Let's go. And everybody else.
Our chance of getting ashore was fading fast. The captain announced we would wait out the weather, but time was limited. His patience paid off. The swells began to ease and the team quickly lowered the Zodiacs into the water.
So we're finally making it onto Jan Mayen.
As we set off from the ship, excitement rippled through the group. We were within reach of land.
Wow, look. I can't believe we're here.
But it wasn't meant to be. The swells began to build. We watched from our Zodiac as the one ahead struggled to make landfall against the waves and current. And just like that, our chance to go ashore disappeared. But not all was lost. We circled the island along a dramatic volcanic coastline, past seabird cliffs, and scattered whale bones along the shore. After about an hour, it was time to head back to the ship. Mission, for the moment, complete. As we said goodbye to Jan Mayen, we watched it fade into the distance, cheering to the hope that tomorrow might bring us better luck. Our next stop was Scoresby, deep inside the fjords of Svalbard's main island. A 2-day journey through dense fog and endless gray nights at sea.
In just a few minutes, after 7 long days on the ship, we are finally touching land.
You could feel it, quiet excitement, as our Zodiac neared the shoreline.
We have touched land in Svalbard. Officially, after 7 long days, we're touching the ground.
We are on the boat on September 3rd. It is now September 9th. And we finally got off the boat.
So that's where our cruise ship is docked. And then they bring us out on those little Zodiacs that you see behind me.
Scoresby is an abandoned Arctic outpost, now only occasionally visited by hunters for reindeer. A tilted wooden workboat from its early mining days,
Primarily for finding marble, which you see behind me here.
still sits decaying on the shore.
And these are the remains of a train track right here behind me that goes inside the mountain.
While seabirds circle the cliffs above. A weathered trapper's cabin sits along the shore.
This cabin is still being used for hunting and sheltering.
With reindeer antlers hanging outside, a rusted cooking grill, and a functioning workbench where animals are processed.
As we're exploring the island, you can see right here, reindeer spine. And there is one reindeer way up there, which I can't photograph. He's grazing.
My binoculars barely caught the reindeer, but our onboard photographer saved the day. Look at this crisp reindeer shot, and a hidden Arctic fox.
It just didn't look like there was going to be any hope to dock here, and we finally made it. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Leaving Scoresby behind, we sailed past the abandoned Soviet town of Pyramiden. It was founded by Sweden in 1910 and sold to the Soviets in 1927, becoming a thriving Arctic mining town. By 1998, the town was abandoned as coal mining was no longer viable after the Soviet Union's collapse. Visitors arrive by boat for guided tours, where the world's northernmost statue of Lenin still stands. Around 7 p.m., the weather held perfectly. We got back into Zodiacs just as the light began to shift, heading toward towering glacial walls, deep blue, streaked with white. As we moved further into the glacial space, we felt overwhelmed, realizing how small, almost insignificant, we were against the scale of it all.
I am with the second oldest man in Svalbard.
Yeah.
In Longyearbyen.
Yeah.
How do you say?
Longyearbyen.
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 Longyearbyen. Longyearbyen.
Here.
Longyearbyen.
Say it with me. Longyearbyen.
Longyearbyen.
Surrounded by dramatic Arctic mountains, Longyearbyen, the capital of Svalbard, has fewer than 2,500 residents and is the most populated town in this Arctic archipelago. The town unfolds in layers: its church, old buildings, colorful homes tucked together in small, almost storybook clusters, and mountains larger than the town itself. It's a place where kids ride bikes under open skies, and the noise of the world feels far away. A few flights arrive from mainland Norway, when weather permits, since Svalbard is a Norwegian territory.
And this is the airport behind us. This is the downtown, actually. This is it, city center, where everything happens. There's pubs, there's restaurants.
And the famous Huskies Cafe, where huskies curl up as you order coffee.
So this is the local supermarket slash fast food place here.
No, it's not a local supermarket.
No,
This is a kiosk.
it's a what?
A kiosk, you know. We have a bigger supermarket on the opposite side of the road.
So this is just like a quick pick.
Yeah, like chocolate and sausage and small things. Yep.
So it's not a supermarket. It's just a quick pick. Okay, my apologies.
Meet Viggo Antonsen, the second oldest man in Svalbard.
So he's all but 41 years of age.
Well into his 70s,
Are you really?
Yeah,
he's got a sharp sense of humor.
Wow.
It's so cold here. You know, we age very slow.
Very slowly. I think I'm gonna move here.
There are more polar bears in Svalbard than people, so you must stick to marked paths. In fact, polar bears are known to wander into town, because out here, this is their territory. Step beyond those boundaries, and things get dangerous fast. It's why my new friends, Felix and his buddies, who've grown up here and have faced polar bears, recommend staying within the safe zone. With Viggo leading the way, we moved through the highlights and photo stops, including abandoned equipment from the town's coal mining days, before heading somewhere unforgettable.
We are in one of the most important places in the world right now. This is the Global Seed Vault. It's right here behind me.
It holds over 1.3 million seed samples, safeguarding thousands of crop species, and stored 130 meters inside the mountain at minus 18 degrees Celsius.
It houses seeds from every nation in case we approach doomsday. Syria just came here after the war.
Their seed bank in Aleppo had been lost during the conflict, so they used the backup seeds stored here to rebuild it. In many ways, this isn't just a vault. It's a backup for life on Earth. We were here on a rare clear day, but life here is shaped by extremes, months without sun, and it shows in how the town is built.
So as you'll see, all the piping in Svalbard is above ground. That's the only way they can keep the water from freezing.
Everything here is permafrost.
Like me, the ground is frozen permanently.
After a group photo with friends, a few lighter moments around town, a quick meal, and one final local beer, it was time to say goodbye and board the ship.
This place was on the bucket list for quite a long time. To dock in here on such a summer day was so precious and special. We had no rain. We had no fog until now. And now when we're departing, it's hard to say goodbye. Can't believe it just went so quickly.
As we left the familiar behind, we headed toward the top of the world, where the planning stops and the real challenge begins.
Greetings, welcome to Ny-Ålesund.
This is the northernmost point in Svalbard.
Just 11 degrees away from the North Pole, we arrived at the northernmost civilian settlement on the planet. Ny-Ålesund is home to scientists from around a dozen countries, including India, all working in a global laboratory to track how our planet is fundamentally changing.
By the way, our phones and all telecommunications were deactivated about 4 hours ago as we approached, because this is the one place where the research are measuring the shifting of the Earth.
Scientists measure the microscopic shifting of the Earth by tracking signals from quasars, which are incredibly distant, motionless galaxies used as stable cosmic reference points.
This is my friend Julia, by the way. Hello, Julia.
Hello. We are now at the northernmost settlement of the world at 78 degrees north latitude.
And 30 people live here.
Yeah, around that.
I'm meeting 10% of the population.
Yes, you are.
Right?
Yeah.
In this town. Please pronounce the town for me.
Ny-Ålesund.
Ny-Ålesund.
Yes.
Yes, and this is Kiko.
Kiko from Estonia. Katea from Norway.
Ruben from Norway.
Prashant from India. And they have one post office. The northernmost post office in the world is getting some mail sent to the US, India, and some other secret places. My first friend.
You'll find domesticated sled dogs and wild Arctic foxes here, along with a few unexpected sights. A small museum, an old jail, a preserved steam train from the mining era, and a few colorful London houses.
And a liquor store.
They have a liquor store?
Important.
You failed to mention that. Where's the liquor store?
That's very control information.
Oh, VIP information.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll also find a statue of Roald Amundsen, honoring one of the greatest Norwegian polar explorers. Nearby, a towering mast rises from the landscape surrounded by icy mountains, where Amundsen and his team successfully launched the airship Norge in 1926, the first verified flight over the North Pole.
Hi, Admit. How are you? You think he was here, really? Or is
He
it
was
just...
he was really here?
Are you sure this is not from Disney?
No, it's not from Disney.
Is this from...
Maybe from Dubai, but not from
Look at this view.
It was time to say goodbye to Svalbard and officially begin our journey toward Greenland, into one of the most remote parts of the Arctic, with no clear idea of the weather ahead and no set timeline for how long it would take. Our first sunrise in the Arctic. After 2 days out in the open sea, the horizon shifted. Snow-covered mountains, icebergs drifting in calm water, slowly coming into view.
Roberto and I are officially on the Zodiac with an entire small crew, and we are now going to head to the iceberg that is behind us.
As we edged closer to our very first iceberg, we pushed through broken pieces of ice, drifting across the water.
So we are now about 500 meters from the iceberg.
Wow.
500.
500 meters from the iceberg.
We will go a bit closer, but not much.
Under the clear blue sky, the scale of it started to set in, rising far higher than it looked from a distance. That was the moment it really hit us. We were officially in Greenland. We ended the night on the top deck of the ship, watching the sky light up. What began as a faint glow in the sky slowly turned into a vivid display of the aurora borealis, the northern lights. We stood under shifting light and color until it faded back into a sky full of stars. No Arctic trip feels complete without seeing a polar bear, but the way we saw ours wasn't exactly planned.
We had just docked.
Ittoqqortoormiit is an old Arctic outpost, once used for weather and radio operations, and sits deep inside Northeast Greenland National Park, one of the most remote coastlines on Earth. We had just started exploring when everything changed. The walkie-talkies started going off.
When we got an alert that there was a polar bear sighting.
Oh, sir, excuse me.
I wonder how far they saw the bear.
So we were immediately evacuated.
It was headed straight toward us, right by the trapper's cabin. As we rushed back to the ship, through our binoculars, we spotted it, casually walking along the shore.
From our ship, we got about 2 hours, and we got to watch him swim in the water, go to the exact same place that we were at.
Polar bears have one of the strongest senses of smell in the animal kingdom. Because we had just been there, the wind had likely carried our scent in its direction. We watched him sniffing around the post, then standing up to its full height against it, looking for food. Luckily, we were gone. It's moments like these that are destined to stay with you.
Good morning. We have officially made it to Ittoqqortoormiit in Greenland.
Ittoqqortoormiit is perhaps one of the most remote towns in northeastern Greenland, and also one of the most isolated on Earth. A tiny community, hundreds of miles from the nearest city. Greenland is a territory of Denmark, and this settlement lies in one of its most inaccessible corners.
Niels' hometown of Ittoqqortoormiit. Ittoqqortoormiit. And who is this behind you?
That's my nephew, Oliver.
Hi, Oliver. Population 250.
Yeah, 250, 300 around. Still undisclosed on how many there is.
Yes. There's a profound sense of seclusion here. With no roads in or out, you have to arrive by ship or rely on a small limited heliport. And even that's tough, because the town and the ocean stay frozen for 8 to 9 months of the year. Denmark founded this settlement in 1925 and relocated about 80 families here, promising them a place rich with hunting. Overlooking the city sits a statue of Einar Mikkelsen, the founder of the town.
So my mom was asking me what I'm going to eat when I'm here. My answer was given. Polar bears.
Yeah.
Seals.
Seals. Most muskox also.
Oh yeah, muskox also. This is Naz's mom, by the way. So I basically would starve here, is the answer. So I'll have to come visit with my own food.
Yeah, I think you have to bring something.
We began the morning kayaking on a beautiful sunny day with rare blue skies, giving us a striking view of the colorful town from the water.
So the interesting thing about this little town is that there's hardly any cars. All you'll see is like big trucks like this, and people travel by ATVs like that.
There's a visitor center, a guest house,
One, that's it.
local police station, a fire station, and a bright green turf soccer field that just stands out against the rocky landscape.
You'll see little kids just being on bicycles.
There's also a local church. The outside is unassuming, but the inside is visually striking, colorful, with a piano and a beautiful altar.
And we are standing in front of the grocery store, post office,
Pharmacy, slash bar slash
everything. A cargo ship comes in once a month, right? To bring in everything.
2 times a year.
everything is frozen. So if they run out of things, they just have to wait until the next season.
It was time to say goodbye to this tiny, colorful speck in the middle of a massive, frozen wilderness. Easily one of the most unreal places I've ever seen. Our final hours in Greenland were spent in Viking Bukt, deep inside the heart of Scoresby Sund, one of the most remote, inaccessible places on the planet. The sun was just starting to spill over the mountain peaks, casting a light that made the ice shift into these incredible, deep blues and emerald greens. We sped through the water, surrounded by floating chunks of ice and massive bergs that had broken off from the glaciers. It felt raw, wild, and completely untouched. In a distance, we caught sight of a polar bear, roaming near a massive deep blue waterfall, frozen solid between mountain peaks. It was the kind of solitude you can only find at the edge of the world, a humbling reminder of how much this planet can exist without us.
Goodbye, Greenland. Until we meet again.
As we sailed away, we gathered to celebrate not just the adventure, but the sheer magnitude of everything we witnessed.
Behind me is the very last tip of Greenland.
From the volcanic grit of Jan Mayen and the wild cliffs of Skansbukta to the front row seat of watching a polar bear in the wild. Those massive, breathtaking glaciers of blue and white, and the remote lives we saw in Longyearbyen and the distant edge of Ittoqqortoormiit. You don't just visit places like these, you carry them back with you.